All right, I'm here with Landon Rogers. He's a manager at Dupree Sporting Goods here in Stillwater, Oklahoma. He's been working there
How's it
for
going?
for a couple of years now, and we are joined by him today. So, Landon, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm happy to help out and answer whatever questions you have.
Absolutely. All right, so we'll get right into it. Starting off, what mistakes have you made in your career? Not necessarily at Dupree's, but just in your professional career so far.
Yeah, everyone makes mistakes every day, pretty much. But at Dupree specifically, there's a lot of things that go wrong. You write a few numbers down on an order, so you don't get the right amount of shirts, or maybe something gets screen printed wrong. Maybe there's a slight angle off or something, and you got to redo everything. And at Dupree's and with what I do, some of it's not necessarily life or death, but it does add up, and it can cause the company money or cost people time and cause missed deadlines. So try to
Right.
be mistake free as much as possible. But yeah, I mean, everyone makes mistakes. So I mean, I used to be a cook out of Karsten Creek, uh, way back a few years ago now. But and you mess up orders, you do something wrong, people are mad, but you just got to learn from it and correct it and do it right next time.
Exactly. So you mentioned that you were a cook at Carson Creek before this. How long have you had your position at Dupree's?
So I've worked there for over 3 years now, and I've been a manager for Greek Life for going on about 6 months now.
Okay. Okay. Excellent. What would you say has been one of the biggest challenges you faced at Dupree's so far?
Um, I think the biggest challenge was when I switched from just kind of my normal position to manager. I didn't realize just kind of how much more work that was going to entail, learning a lot more about what all the managers do, because I was just one of the kids working up front, folding clothes, folding t-shirts, putting stickers on stuff. So just kind of learning more about the manager's responsibilities and kind of taking that in stride. I learned a lot from the person who was in charge before me, but the busyness is just it's a lot more when you're actually in charge of other people and in charge of people's orders versus just a kid working minimum wage, like I was for a while there.
Mhm. So what would you say as a leader you learned from the managers before you?
So I think most of the managers I've worked with are still there. There's been two that have left, both had my position previously. But I think the things I've learned from the other managers is there's times where you need to be tougher on some of the kids that you need work done from, all the college kids who help us do our jobs better. But you gotta be patient with them. You gotta remember they got a lot going on. Most learned my managers all how to deal with people, deal with customers, deal with the people you work with. Uh, in reality, what I do is a relationship business. We need repeat customers. We need I want the other kids who are just a little bit younger than me to respect me, so that they, when I tell them to do something, they do it, but they're not mad when I tell them to do it. So that's mainly what I've learned from a lot of the managers, is just how to deal with people.
Right. So now being a manager and you've been on both sides of it, obviously now,
Mhm.
would you consider yourself a leader in the workplace?
I think so. I think there's definitely uh, the people that have the job currently that I used to do. I think they some of them look up to me for sure in some ways. A couple have been there almost as long as me, so they might not look up to me and ask me for advice because they know a lot of what I know, a lot of the same things, and they do it their own way, and stuff gets done. But there's some kids that are 18 years old that have started there this year, and I think they definitely look up to me. I'd like to think I'm a little more easy to approach than the manager sometimes. I'm not a 50-year-old guy who's been doing it forever who might be a little tougher sometimes. So I definitely like to think that I help lead the kids a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, do you think that there is a good amount of diversity in the workplace at Dupree's?
Um, Diversity how?
I would say both in terms of diversity of thought and diversity in terms of race and ethnicity.
Diversity of thought, I 100% definitely think there is, especially amongst a lot of the between the kids and the adults. I mean, the just the age gap between some of the kids that have been there longer and the ones that are younger, you can tell a big difference in the way they think, the way they act. Uh, there's a 18-year-olds act a lot differently than 22-year-olds and think a lot differently. And there's also we're in the age gap of kind of Gen Z versus millennials, and there's a lot of that going on too. Just kind of how people work, and then manager wise, there definitely is. Everyone's kind of different ages. We got me at 23 versus my the owners who are in their mid 50s. So definitely some diversity of thought. Racially, it's not a very diverse workplace. We have it's mainly primarily a white workforce, and that's something we could definitely work on and probably need to address.
Okay. In terms of diversity, would you say that, because you mentioned you've had other jobs in the past, would you
Mhm.
say that Dupree's is more or less or about the same in terms of diversity compared to your other work experiences?
I would say it's honestly a little less diverse, and I say that because I've most actually all of my other jobs besides my first job at a golf course have been in restaurants. And as I'm sure you know, restaurants are a very, very diverse workplace. You get people from all different parts of life. Uh, I've worked with people from not even from America in restaurants. Cooking at Karsten, there was a few different races at a restaurant in Tulsa. I worked at a sushi restaurant. I worked with people of all different ages, races, backgrounds, genders, whatever you can think of. Uh, so in that sense, I would say no, it's not as diverse as those other places, but those other places are also uh, positioned more to have a more diverse workforce.
Right. Kind of switching gears a little bit. Who would you say is your professional mentor at Dupree? Like who from day one have you looked up to and said, this is the kind of employee, the kind of manager that I want to be?
Right. That's a great question. I think for me, honestly, it was a girl named Kylie who was there when I started. She held the position that I currently have when I started 3 years ago, and she was a fantastic manager. She had great relationships with everybody she came in contact with, from customers to her coworkers. She really handled everything with class and was on top of everything, very well organized, and just did a great job of managing the Greek and OSU part of Dupree's.
Okay. So, before you got to Dupree's,
Mhm.
what attracted you to go after that job, and what like experiences and training and characteristics did you have that you felt would suit you for a job at Dupree's?
Right, that's another good question there. I When I first started Dupree's, I'll be honest, it was more of a location based job. I was looking for. I needed a job in college. Got to make a little bit of money. Um, and I lived right down the street. I could walk every day, so that made it very, very easy, very convenient. And I happened to know Chad and Jeff a little bit. My family was friends with his family growing up, so I knew them a little bit, and that kind of made a lot of sense. And like I said, I kind of had a lot of jobs throughout high school and early part of college, so I kind of figured I could do whatever they needed me to do, whether that was going to be screen printing shirts in the back or working up front selling things, and getting everything organized for the store. And so yeah, it was more just a location based, needing a job, wanting to do something close to where I lived, and it turned into I learned a lot quickly because you kind of have to in the job, and but I didn't have a ton of prior experience with sales. I'd never worked in sales, uh, but I've always considered myself a bit of a people person, and it came pretty naturally working with customers and talk on the phone, helping them work out orders, what they need, and just kind of doing whatever they need us to do.
Absolutely. So obviously, um, things have been different, because of the pandemic in the past,
Yes.
12 to 15 months. How has, everyday work life at Dupree's changed, and how have you adapted, and how has Dupree's adapted as well?
Right. So it's changed a lot. the first few months of the pandemic, we weren't even open. We repainted the store actually, which was something we'd been needing to do for a long time. It's changed. We don't have as many in-store sales, which has never been our primary source of business. Most of our business comes from big orders from clubs at OSU, Greek and fraternity life, or Greek sorority fraternity life at OSU, from Stillwater Public Schools, just kind of different organizations. We reach as far as Kingfisher, OKC, Tulsa. We do work with schools and teams in all those areas. So that's where most of our work comes from. And ever since sports started back up, it's been pretty much the same. OSU canceling homecoming changed a lot for us. That is a big chunk of revenue for our company because we have contracts with every Greek house for clothing and all the pomps and stuff. So that changed a bit, but overall, I think the biggest difference is just less foot traffic in the store itself. Besides that, everyone else is pretty much doing business as usual. OSU is a little bit slower because they don't have all the same events, all the people on campus. So our orders from them are a little bit slower, but all the other public schools and teams from around the area are all still doing their same thing. So pretty much business as usual in that sense. I will say it's gotten a lot harder to get items shipped to Dupree's to the store itself because everywhere, a lot of places are low in stock of shirts, materials, because they're not able to produce and get stuff in from overseas. So that's been a bit of an issue. So there's longer times for shipping and whatnot. But
Right.
overall, it's been pretty similar.
Okay. So after Dupree's, after you graduate, what's next? What's
Mhm.
the plan for you professionally?
I am an accounting and sports management major, actually. So after I graduate, I'll be going to Tulsa to work at Grant Thorne as an auditor. They are a public accounting firm there. I believe they're the fifth or sixth biggest public accounting firm in the nation. So I'm excited about that, and that's the plan for the future.
All right, great. Well, Landon, thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Garrett.
All right, thank you.